stream and viewing this from the page. We have got some really cool stuff we're going to talk about today. One of the hottest topics around the nation, hands down, period, is peer recovery. And it doesn't matter what state you're in, it doesn't matter what your field is, whether you're working in uh, jails, criminal justice systems, treatment, mental health, co occurring. Hands down, it is one of the most prominent things to emerge in a long time, in decades. And so all of a sudden, everybody's trying to find out what is peer support. And so here it is. We're going to talk about it. Today, we've got Bonnie Stribling with us. If you're in Arkansas, you know who Bonnie is, hands down. Like, she has been a leading pioneer for peer support. She's helped uh, develop everything in the state of Arkansas. She was the second peer specialist to work for a state facility. She knows her stuff, totally humble, and just has an air about her. You guys will get to experience that in a second. We're going
Thank
to
you,
do
Jimmy.
something. Yeah, totally cool, man. And I'll let her tell you about herself in 1 second. We're going to take some phone calls today. It's going to be a fun day. We're going to let you guys call in with your comments and all that stuff. Off the bat, we need you guys to not start watch parties. If you start a watch party, everybody that's viewing from your thread will not be able to view from our thread. So the comments and things you're seeing, they won't be interacting with what's going on over here with me and Bonnie. We won't, in fact, we won't even know they're there, but we would encourage you to share the video and ask them to come to the page and watch it. That way everybody's in the same mixing pot. Bonnie, jump in there and tell them who you are and what you do and what your day looks like.
Hey. So my name is Bonnie Stribling, like Jimmy said. If I'm talking really loud and I'm hurting your ears, please let me know in the comments because this is my first time ever doing a live video. What? So I am a peer support specialist. On the 31st of this month, I will have 6 years of sustained recovery, which is really cool. And I work for the youth at the Division of Youth Services, and I just kind of hang out with people that maybe, I mean, they're in treatment. They're in treatment for substance use, or maybe they got other stuff going on, and we just do our peer group there. I try to talk with them after they leave. I talk to them right as soon as they get there, and we just work on identifying with each other, and that's the big thing about peer support for me is, meeting with somebody that has been through what I've been through. And in my story, I was going to counseling with a professional, and then all of a sudden he disclosed to me that he's one of us. You know what I mean? And that just really changed the relationship. He was able to do peer support services with me before it was, a thing, and got me into recovery. And it was just that feeling of like, you understand where I've been, you understand what it feels like. And so that's just a part of my story. I have a little 7-year-old. His name is Jack. He's probably more popular on social media than I am.
Yeah,
he
can dance.
he may be running in here every once in a while and trying to stick his head in and just say hey, because that's what he does. So just a little disclaimer that we're doing that today. So thank you, Jimmy, for having me on, having the woman voice, having the recovery going live on Facebook. It's really incredible that we're doing this. So thank you.
Yeah. Well, thank you for doing your part because a lot of people are scared to do this. Like they're so caught up in what people are going to think. Like, oh my God, they're going to think I'm stupid. I'm not going to make a
Got this
video.
double chin. Like what?
Yeah. Yeah. It's crazy. It's, it's amazing to see new leaders because for me, that's what this is about, right? Like I have no problem getting on stage in front of thousands of people. That's what I do, right? I'm public. And but who comes after us, Bonnie? What about the next generation of leadership? How do
Right.
we encourage them to come out of the darkness, share your recovery? Because the more we do this, the more we humanize the disease. And the more we talk about it, the more we give addiction a face, the louder the voice of recovery will get, And so,
Absolutely.
yeah, for sure. Thank you. Big ups. And so if you guys have a question, you can feel free to type it in. Bonnie and I'll get to it. We are the 2 state leads for recovery for the state of Arkansas, which is totally cool because if you knew our personal stories, It's insane how we got to where we're at, you know.
Right.
Uh, so, and again, I want to remind you guys, if you share the videos, please encourage them not to do a watch party while we're live, because it will take their interaction away from us and they won't be able to correspond with what we've got going over here. We're also going to do some call ins. And so, Bonnie, hands down, number one question that we're going to get: what is peer support?
Right. So, and I like to give my spiel, which is about 2 seconds long. I work with
Bill?
people that are, can you hear me? Oh,
Yeah.
I work with people that are under 21. So I go through real quick, and I stole this from you, Jimmy. And it's, I'm a person of recovery, which means I used to do a whole bunch of drugs and I burned my life down for a long time and I found a way out. And so now I'm here to maybe just hang out with you, maybe relate with you, see if maybe we have some similar stories, see if there's something I can help you with. And I talk with people about what is something you've always wanted to do, but you felt like you couldn't do. You know what I mean? What are some things that you always dreamed of, but maybe you just didn't know if you quite get there? What does it feel like to be in treatment right now? Where are you at mentally with it? And I just go through that. You know what I mean? I just go through those questions because I have asked myself those questions. So the peer support is there to just really get on that same level. It's mutual. We are the same. You know
Yeah.
what I mean? It's that anonymity piece. Like, we are exactly the same. Just because I have a badge on doesn't mean that I'm any, more special or whatever. I just happened to get a job. They thought that I was able to be hireable, and you can do that too.
Yeah.
That's the whole thing, is I'm like a leader for you, or a mentor or whatever. You can just follow in my footsteps and just take my job after I'm done, do what I do. So that's to me
Right.
what peer support is.
Right. Yeah. So absolutely. So when I think about what peer support is that your GER face?
Yeah.
So when I think about peer support, and I'm looking at the live stream, right? Like
Yeah. I
there's
need to get better at that.
43 people over here viewing and commenting, and a lot of them are peer support. So that's really cool. And a lot of them aren't. Like Holly Bunn, I've got her question up here. Holly is,
Yeah.
I believe, the clinical director for a MAT clinic in Searcy. And so she's
Right.
asking, what are the requirements to qualify for peer support? And so I want to be real careful. And Bonnie, you can jump in here anytime. A lot of people misconstrue lived experience as automatically being a peer. And
Right.
that's not the case. Lived experience means you qualify to become a peer support specialist,
Okay.
right? And so, you to answer your in short, Holly, the answer to the question is you need 2 years of recovery, sustainable recovery, and you need a daily maintenance of some kind that you are maintaining that recovery. Then you have to go through the state approved training, the Arkansas model, which is put on by Euler Mid South. And after that, you become PIT, which is peer in training, and then you get 500 hours of apprenticeship, learning how to provide services under someone like Bonnie. So you got something to add to that, Bonnie? Jump in there.
I do. And I actually wanted to add too. So I have been talking about working with people that are 21 and under. And I'm glad that Chris Dickey brought this up too. Right now I'm a supervisor for peer support. Me and Jimmy both are. We're supervisors. And so we supervise people that are gone through the training and they're working on their 500 hours to get certified, because we don't want to just go through training and then send people out. We want to make sure that we're like staying with them through the whole process, and they're actually going through the code of ethics and they're doing all those things. So Chris Dickey was talking about, do you work with anyone else above 21? And I do. I work for natural state recovery centers as well. And I just want to do a little plug there and just say that I am working with adults too. And we're also doing volunteer services. We're working on that to supervise. But really, we have peers they can volunteer places and then they get their 500 hours that way, or they can work as a registered peer in training. And as long as they're still getting supervision from maybe me or Jimmy, and there's going to be more people like Teresa Apple was on here. She's going to be working towards supervision. Some other people that'll be supervising.
Yeah, absolutely. And so that 500 hours of apprenticeship, right, like is so vital to learning how to provide peer support, because if not, you just jump in the game thinking you know some stuff, because most of us came out of addiction with an ego as big as my kitchen table. I did for
Uh,
sure.
you had a
Now,
kitchen table?
I didn't
Dang.
have a kitchen table, but I had a big ego. And I still do sometimes. And so personally, I've got good supervisors and good bosses and a good wife that really know how to humble me. Like they really handle me. Like they went specifically to Jimmy handling school, so they
Okay.
take me down a notch. But uh, it's really cool that 500 hours sets us apart from other states. And currently, Arkansas is the shining diamond at a national level for recovery support. We are known for what we're doing and how we're doing it the right way and why we're having such effective results. And I think that 500 hours plays a lot into that because if a peer gets trained and they jump in the game as a peer support, and they're providing services to
Right.
actually volunteer or go through the hell of having to accumulate 500 hours for free, like that's dedication, that's
Right.
determination. They're doing
Right.
this because they got a passion.
Yeah. And a lot of times they have to be really creative. I mean, we just got
Yeah.
to be real. A lot of people don't exactly know what peer support services are. And so, sometimes we walk into an agency kind of like with Natural State and just being like, really, okay. And with my job, working with the kids, it's like, where do I fit? And so we have to be like, we have to kind of think outside the box. So we have to ask other people and just say, like, let's just pave the road real quick and just figure this out as we're working. Or if you have a drop-in center like Wolf Street, what if we could like do we could do so much, and we just have
Yeah.
to be able to like use those resources and like create something new that will be really beneficial for me and the other people seeking treatment. So be
Yeah.
creative for sure.
Yeah, definitely. And so Sean Burton, I've got his comment posted up here. I love this
Yeah,
because
that's cool.
it shows how far this network is actually reaching, right? Like we've got people from Kentucky, Ohio, California, Arizona, all these different people jumping in this live feed. And so Sean says, I'm currently pursuing peer support in Ohio. Class is canceled until virus is handled. Love the opportunity to help. Man.
Yeah. Oh, hi. Oh, I'm sorry. I had to.
Oh, hi. Oh, what? Okay. And so I think
I
we've
wonder what
got
those classes look like in Ohio. If anybody has any information on what your training looks like in Ohio, what kind of stuff do you guys talk about? What kind of resources do you use?
yeah, absolutely.
Share those, pass those along to us, because I just like to hear about what other people are doing.
Yeah. And so check this out. Hello from Counseling Services of Jacksonville. Hey,
Oh,
that's where my house at. We just hired Stacy M, PRSS. We know Stacy. Stacy is doing good stuff. In
cool.
fact, she's been trying to provide housing all morning for someone, so that's totally cool. She's going to be such a great asset to our clinic and our community. Totally cool. Thank you, Rebecca, for believing in peer support and buying into it. Bonnie, here's a great question for you
Okay.
from Holly Bunn, um, which is the Cersei counseling place. She posted the name of it. She's an APRN for Compassionate Care Clinic in Cersei. And so her question is, what will peer recovery look like in a MAT setting?
Okay. So, can I name drop a couple of people? And I don't even know
Uh,
if they're watching.
are they peers or people with
Yeah, they're
issues?
peer.
Yeah.
So there's two
Yeah.
names of people, and really there's three. There's three names of people that I know that are working peers in MAT clinics. And the first one I thought of was Wade Carter. He would be a great resource for somebody. He's in Hot Springs with Quapaw
Hmm.
House. He does
Yeah.
MAT stuff, and he may answer some questions about where they fit. There's also Shalinda. She's up in Jonesboro, and she's doing a really great job with AR Cares. And then
Yeah.
also in Searcy, there's a guy named Dane Dillard. He's also doing MAT work as a peer specialist with AR Cares.
Yeah.
So, I don't know how that feels, though, to go from to ask people that work for other agencies what that looks like. But I think for peers in particular, too, like we need to stay in network with each other and talk about, what does it look like in MAT? What does it look like in, the correctionals environment? And with MAT, there's a lot of outpatient from what, that's an outpatient service, right?
Right.
So,
Right.
I think that's huge. A peer being able to walk alongside them in their everyday life. Sometimes peer services look a little bit different than what we expect. Like, sometimes they're going to meet someone at a coffee shop. Sometimes they're going to meet somebody at the gym. And I think it's, how do we live life like a quote regular person, a functional life, a successful life, a fulfilling life, even though we're an MAT doesn't mean that we have to just stop our life and still continue in that,
Right.
you know.
And so I noticed the drug director is actually watching. So when I say this with his permission. Like the goal for MAT is to become abstinent, right? Like that's
Right.
very important that everyone knows that. Like, so when you add MAT just by itself, all you're doing is slinging buprenorphine. Okay, so, but when you offer recovery support, when you offer peer recovery, someone who can leave the clinic, walk beside these people in everyday life, then you start to see a rise in long-term enhanced quality of life. And you see four areas that are really enhanced through recovery services: health, home, purpose, and community. You
Right.
see a major change in all four of those dynamics. Uh,
Right.
and so when you put someone who's on MAT with a peer, what you've just done is transition from MAT to MAR, medically assisted recovery. And
Ooh.
now all of a sudden Bonnie's working with someone who's trying to wing off of Suboxone, and they're getting to where they're ready to try this way of life, chemical free. And Bonnie's already got this person introduced to the recovery community, whatever recovery looks like for them. It may be Christian based church. It may be 12 steps. It may be smart recovery. It may be yoga and CrossFit, whatever recovery looks like for them. Right. And
That's right.
so now they're ready to jump off of it and give it a shot. And the MAT kept them alive long enough for the peer to instill hope and plant a desire that, okay, if Bonnie and Jimmy can do this, and I know they're screwed up, right? I can do it too.
That's right. That's right.
Yeah.
And that's what
And
I think is so empowering about peer support services, is we get to like explore what is going to work for each person individually. It's not a cookie cutting process. We're not saying that anybody has to do a certain way. And how often do we ever get to have that choice of what recovery looks like for me? So I just love that about peer.
okay, so Kyle Brewer says, I want to read a couple of these comments for you, Bonnie. First, though, this is totally cool. Where'd he just go? He's from Vegas. Did you guys see that? We got people from Vegas with us. Hey, from
That's
Vegas. Excuse me. I would love to get involved out here. Amanda Davis, currently working toward peer certification here in Montana. Congratulate.
Montana.
Yeah. Like Hannah. Do you know Hannah? Let me.
And Montana.
Hey, I love that. And
Stop. You're talking about Miley Cyrus?
oh,
Oh
is that
my
what that is?
gosh. Or whatever her name is.
See, I'm so confused. Like, oh, uh, congrats, Amanda. And if we can do anything to help with peer support, please do not hesitate. Inbox me on the Jimmy McGill Live page. This is what we do. We're trying to unify peer support across the nation.
That's
And
right.
that would be great. Let's see. Can we get our training started before we reach the 2 years of recovery? Yeah, must have
Can
a
I talk?
bad connection. Yeah, go ahead.
Okay. So I love this question. I think it's incredible that people want to help at 2 years or under 2 years clean, or excuse me, 2 years in recovery, because my definition of clean might be different than yours. But the thing is like you can always start getting connected with people before 2 years, and you can start getting plugged in with an agency or a place to volunteer before 2 years. And the only thing though is you got to get plugged in with a supervisor, me or Jimmy or someone in your area, finding out who your supervisor is in that area. And I just really stress that because I don't want for people to feel like they're on their own and they're just going and starting peer services somewhere and they don't have someone to talk to when they have questions or comments about what's going on. So there's a lot that can happen between in the first 2 years of recovery. There's a lot of change that happened for me in my life. There was a lot of like, I was in school to be a teacher in my first 2 years. And now look, I was working at a fish truck. I was a manager of a food truck. trimming catfish in Pottsville, Arkansas. That's what I was doing. So to know that a lot's changed in 2 years. So that 2 year mark is just an important part of where I was at in recovery. And that's why I think that Arkansas set that standard for 2 years, because there's just so much growth and change. It's a beautiful growth and change. It's necessary. But by 2 years, we kind of have like some routine going. We have some idea of what our recovery looks like, what's important to us, hopefully our boundaries are we're working on our boundaries, working on our priorities. So that's why it's 2 years. But before then, you can always network. You can always get plugged in with an agency, just start working, volunteer hours, just trying to, meet with a supervisor. Does that sound about right, Jimmy?
Yes, I love it. Love it. Sounds great. I also want to add, Bonnie, that for me personally, even though I had, and I worked for the office of the drug director, right? And like I had to have a 3 year mark before I could get hired. And the reason was it's not that my recovery was in question. People knew that I was passionate about recovery, that I loved it. It was my purpose, the driving force of my life, but I didn't necessarily know how to behave. And I still don't. With over 5 years of sustained recovery, I still do some goofy stuff. I'm still a very loose cannon, very unpolitical, definitely not polished. No telling what's going to spew out of my mouth. I'm liable to get us all in trouble and get this whole thing shut down at any time. And so, but
Yay!
with 2 years of recovery, did you really know how to behave? I mean, because at 2 years, my wife, who was my girlfriend then, was telling me to pull my pants up, turn my hat around. You look like a freaking idiot. You're 38 years old. You don't need to be acting like a I didn't know how to behave. I was cussing loud in public. I was smoking cigarettes. My kid would be, if it wasn't for my wife, my daughter would have been late to soccer games. Like I didn't know how to be a person.
Right.
Did you?
It's responsible. Yeah, no, I was still trying to figure out. No, I actually failed out of college at 2 years clean. I'm just gonna be real. You know what
Yeah.
I mean? I was at that major point in my life where like some great change happened, because I stopped using or whatever. I stopped doing what I was doing, and then I thought maybe I could just like enroll in college real quick, and then I realized that oh wait, I still have to like turn my homework in on time, and I still have to do the work. And so through that 2 years, there was a lot of that going on. I was like learning by big failures. I was learning by step process. So yeah, it just took me a little while at 2 years, to figure out what I was even wanting to do with myself, when I wasn't using
Right.
substances. So
Right. Absolutely. So I've got to hit on this. If you guys will pay attention to the screen, you're going to see this beefed up beefcake, Sean Winkle. Okay. Sean, it says, peer recovery saved my life when nothing else could. The relationship that I'm going to cry. Like the relationship I developed with my peer and the want for the freedom he had in his life is what I latched onto. And now I am living the life I'm proud of.
mm,
If you don't know Sean, one of the things that really put Arkansas on the map was the PACT project. And that allowed us to put peer recovery in very unique settings. Uh, it allowed us to place peers in the jails, in the drug courts, in DYS, you name it, we was able to put peers there. Sean was an incarcerated person in Lone Oak County Jail, where we first launched the jail recovery program. And as opposed to going to prison, he volunteered to go into the recovery unit. And that's where he found peer recovery. He met his mentor and his peer, and still his friend today. And he's made a complete life change. That's freaking awesome.
yeah, yeah, that's awesome. Congratulations, Sean. Thanks for saying that. That's a big deal.
And shout out to
And there's
Sean.
the other side.
Oh, here's a great question, Bonnie. Tackle it. What is the
Hey,
difference
I
between
hear
a
this.
peer?
And a sponsor. And that's a big thing. We get this all the time, and I think it's important for us to talk about it. So peer recovery is not limited to 12 step, right? Peer recovery is we accept all multiple pathways to recovery. So, when I sit down with somebody and we start working together, I'm really just trying to identify help them and encourage them and build that empowerment of you are going to recover the way that you want to recover. And if you want to recover by going to 12-step meetings, I can get you a ride there. But it's not my job as a peer specialist to always be your ride to that meeting. And it's not my responsibility to go over step work with you.
Right.
Your step work with your journey is going to be with your sponsor. And just the same as when I'm in recovery, maybe I go to 12-step meetings, which I do. I don't just rely on one person. I have to get the phone list and I start calling other people. And my peer specialist would be there to help me make sure I get that phone list, and then they call other people. They can't always rely on just me. So the peer specialist can help bridge those gaps to community resources. Like maybe
Yeah.
they just want to go to church, maybe they just want to, but with 12 step in particular, I'm not working steps with them.
Right.
I really encourage that relationship with a sponsor. And so far, I haven't had any issues with that because I know that from day one that I'm not their sponsor, and that if they want to talk about 12 step, they can. If they don't, then we won't. You know.
Right. Absolutely. And so, uh, yeah,
Look at all my
because
hair.
yeah, it's kind of wild. I hear it all the time. I've heard treatment centers say that they don't want to hire peer support because they're just basically a glorified sponsor, and that's not the case at all. Like, here's the truth of it. When I come out of addiction, my repetitious drug use for decades had distorted and complexed my thinking. In other words, I couldn't think. My brain did not function to normal capacity. And so all of a sudden, I'm trying to navigate a very complicated system without the thinking capacity of normal, productive people. Does that make sense?
Right.
That's where the peer support really comes in. Someone who's not thinking clearly or up to par is trying to navigate a very complicated system, and peer support can really help and assist and aid into that, right?
Right.
Like, we're resource brokers,
Right.
we are cheerleaders. We are there to encourage you to make your own decisions, your own choices, because we believe and know without a shadow of doubt the answers are in you, and we've got to empower you to make those choices.
Yes.
And so I've got the phone number up here as well. If you guys want to call in, shout out to Noah Abdiner. I just seen where he popped up.
Get it,
No,
boy.
yeah, I feel like we're doing big stuff now. We got Noah on here. Noah is the state of Texas director for the Division of Peer Recovery Support Services. Noah has definitely mentored me and Bonnie along our journey. Shout out to Casey Copeland. I see you on here.
Hey, there's
Uh,
Casey. Oh my gosh.
yeah.
Haven't heard from
Let's,
you, man.
let's
Yes,
see. Great analogy. We're reading some comments here. Just wanted to pop in. Busy
absolutely.
day.
I do want to say this really quick. So when I went to training, it was the Appalachian model, but we were working on the Arkansas model. This was back in 2018. And our trainer was Ike Powell. So if you guys know who Ike is, he is like he's not a guru because we don't like to use that, but he is definitely a great mentor. I love Ike. And he wrote on the board the simplest thing, and it was like peer support connects the peer to treatment services. They connect the peer to community resources. They connect the peer to staff. They connect the peer to self, right? And it's like, I don't know, that simplified it for me. I'm not trying to take away any services. I'm only adding to. I'm just
Yeah.
creating like more on my team in recovery.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And so our next question, Bonnie, is peer recovery effective?
I think you should answer this one.
Yeah. Okay. So we've got to, I just read the presidential administration report previously or prior to the coronavirus outbreak.
Okay.
Uh, and so the treatment plan for that the presidential administration has released is that it should focus on peer recovery, money to expand and research the development of peer support and the effectiveness. Uh, I can tell you the data that we've been collecting. Uh, yeah, it's very effective. Now, why is it so much more effective than other pathways? Uh, to speak from personal experience, and I'll let you do this too in just a sec, Bonnie. For me, it took a peer because I was afraid that I would be judged or you would be condescending. I didn't want to tell you the shameful things I did in my addiction uh, that were embarrassing, right? I was
Right.
afraid you would judge me. But when it was another person that had successfully lived through addiction, like I wasn't afraid to tell you anything, Bonnie, because you're not going to judge me for doing the same thing you did if you didn't do worse than I did.
Right. Right.
That's why a peer was able to connect with me in just a few short moments. You know,
Right.
Did,
Yeah.
what do you think? How about for you?
Yeah, I think it's always about like just the body language makes such a big difference. I know they talk about this all the time in training and we talk about our recovery story as a tool. But it's effective from what I've seen so far is because I always I'm not taking notes, I'm not sitting there doing documentation on trying to figure out what our goals are. I'm just there to like really give them the voice and to listen, for me to listen to them. And and we come at that mutual place or we're both just able to kind of talk and they get to know me and they get to ask a staff member because I am a staff. They ask me questions about things they weren't normally would be afraid to ask people about what recovery really looks like. We can talk about coping skills all day long, but that is like my least favorite term. I don't want to hear you say I'm going to use my coping skills. What do coping skills look like let's really talk about what does every day look like I'm saying, like, let's do a visual walkthrough of our day, you know what I mean? Because I think it's about real, because I know what that's like. I know what it's like to talk to a therapist and say what I need to say to get what I want, and
Yeah,
even going over the top and just being, I used to go in and just like unannounced and be crying because I just needed that attention, and so I just having that peer specialist there to really be even keel and to really hear each other out, and some of the work that I do here with Natural State, talking to the women, it's like late at night and we're just sitting there like, just sitting there talking, and it's like, and it's therapeutic. It's a therapeutic conversation, and it's not something that I can just sit there and document on. I'm not
yeah,
using special terms and phrases. Like I'm just sitting there being human,
yeah,
and they get to, and they hold me accountable too. So it creates a community, because they get to know me and they start pointing things out with me, and then all of a sudden it gives them a little bit of like, buy-in, because they have a buy-in in this relationship. It's a two-way street. So I don't know. I
yeah.
love that about peer sport.
We're recovering together, right?
Yeah,
It's about
exactly. Yeah, yeah.
it's about putting on the same shirt that you have on that says I've been there and done that too. It's
Hey,
not about walking above or below. It's about walking beside. We're
exactly.
we're together in this. I'm not in any type of authoritative position. I'm not trying to be in anything that creates a power differential. I'm trying to minimize that at all times as a peer.
Right.
And so, yeah, because I want you to feel as empowered as I do.
Yeah. Hey, Jimmy. I'm wearing a shirt that says Martha Washing Guns on it, and it's got a big woman with like really strong arms. Would you wear
Yeah.
this shirt? Would you wear my Martha Washing Gun shirt?
Well, I
You
don't
said
know.
you take my shirt off and wear my shirt. You know what I'm saying?
Uh,
Is this a weird question?
yeah, that's totally. I mean, I feel like that's a shirt not for someone of my masculinity.
uh,
Does that make
you can
sense?
totally pull it off. You can pull it off. That's like saying that men can't wear pink. They can totally wear pink.
I love pink. Pink is my favorite color, my shirt.
Right.
Guys, we have got our phone number up here. That actually is the phone number to one of our sponsors, Next Step Women, which is a 501c3, and it's definitely a sponsor. And I also want to plug Chris Dickey at Natural State Recovery. And you guys definitely want to tune in for that show on Wednesday, which is the
Wednesday.
recovery clinic at 11 o'clock Wednesday. That's when Chris Dickey and I would go at it from a very it's fire. You just want to check it out. Next question is,
Lit.
yeah, lit. That's what them youngsters say, ain't it? It's lit.
Them youngsters. I don't
Yeah.
know. Just it's fine. Everything's fine.
Listen, I'm gonna keep it real. Like I done survived addiction, but now I'm gonna get lost in the millennial of the new
In the
generation, right?
translation.
Yeah, they're
Yeah.
gonna be like, man, bro, that's lit. And I'm like, shit, put it out. Where's it at? I'm looking around. You know, I'm so old fashioned. you
Yeah.
know.
But I do want to say this really fast. I'm super into using terms that I might have used in my active addiction and use it in different terms now. You know what I mean? So people will
Yeah.
say, like, oh, I'm just so woke, and there's just this association with that word. And now in recovery, I really am woke. You know what I mean? I really am like awaken. I'm awakening.
No,
Okay,
you
anyway,
woke. You
I'm
woke.
woke. I'm
You
not very
woke.
woke to how to use it in the proper form, but yes. So anyway, lit
Okay.
too. Recovery is lit.
Yes, it is lit. Again, guys, I want to encourage you to dial in the phone number. We're going to put you on speakerphone. We're going to answer any questions. You can call in and comment. Again, this goes back to the caring what people think. Don't be scared to call in. You call in the radio. I bet you if I had some NF tickets, you'd call in.
Some what tickets?
NF.
What is that?
That's Chelsea's favorite rapper, NF.
Oh, that.
She had we
Oh,
had tickets to go.
to that
And
thing.
yeah, to his concert, and it's delayed or canceled. Uh, it's cray cray, man. And
Okay,
my wife's 7 year recovery birthday is coming up April 5th,
get it, girl.
and she's gonna have to get a digital coin. I'm gonna have to
Ah,
screen print her a birthday coin or something.
like a Bitcoin.
Give her a Bitcoin. Great idea. That is totally cool. Uh, let's see. What's the future of peer support, Bonnie?
Uh, you
Hang on, we
know,
got a call. Let's see who we got. You're live on the air with Bonnie Stribling and Jimmy McGill. Who do we have on the phone?
This is Brett Franks.
Brett
hey,
Franks. Hey, what's up,
How
man?
y'all doing?
We're
Man,
good.
loving the show, loving what y'all got going on. Loving the fact that y'all are describing it to people who don't know any better a little bit more in detail.
Yeah,
To get a better understanding, because I think the whole world needs a better understanding of what's going on, because this is taking the world by storm. Um, I'm working at the sheriff's department half days right now, so I love the fact that I can get on here and talk with y'all and listen to y'all and get some recovery, other than going out and putting myself into a bad predicament.
right.
yeah, that's awesome.
I
That's,
love what you're doing, Brett. I'm glad you joined us today. That's awesome.
so just so that everybody else that's watching, you work at the sheriff's department, right? And what do you
I
do
work in
there, Brett?
Roanoke County. I'm over the PAC program. I facilitate groups on a daily basis and I give hope to those who are hopeless with my lived experience.
That's totally cool. So you're a peer support inside the jail.
Yes,
You rock,
yes,
my
I am.
man. Thanks for calling in, Brett.
All right, y'all have a blessed day.
All right.
Bye bye.
So if we would have had Justin Bieber tickets, Brett would have just been a Bieber. I thought that was funny,
Crickets.
Bonnie.
That was crickets. We're putting crickets in there. We need
I
some
thought it
sound
was
effects.
great. Chelsea McGill said, "No, no pink for dudes." Uh, that's great.
Depends on the shade of pink, probably.
Well, it was a pink and white, black pullover polo. It was my favorite shirt. I wore it for years. She hated it for years, and then suddenly it was gone. No, I gave it to Boo Boo. See how quick I almost blamed my wife for missing my shirt. I gave it away. Man, I'm out of there, dude. So hang on, we got another call here. Hey, you're live with Jimmy McGill and Bonnie Stribling. Who's on the phone?
This is Jennifer Schuler.
Jen, what's up?
Jen! Get it, girl.
What y'all doing, man? It's a good break in my day of watching all the doomsday stuff.
Oh, yeah. Are you going to tell us something sad about all that stuff?
Not unless you want me to.
I
No.
don't know. No, Bonnie said no.
Okay. Well, the gov's speaking at 1:30, so I'll hang out with y'all till then. But I'm so proud of how you guys have adapted to this new normal and how you're bringing that support and love and energy. And I'm just in awe of you.
Yeah, thank you so much. We love you, Jen. And for
We need you.
those of you guys who are watching and streaming and you don't know who Jen is the medical lead for the DHS in Arkansas. And she definitely has also helped and mentored me along my personal journey with developing different policies and papers. And so, Jen, you're amazing. Thank you so much for just being an ally of recovery and always being there to support us.
Thank you, Jimmy. Y'all.
Thank
Okay.
you.
Thanks, Jen. Totally cool. It won't be long. We'll be getting some of those out of state calls. It seems like every time we go to this question, Bonnie, we get a call. Go. Ring.
Okay. So, the future of peer support. Here's Copews.
Love it.
Okay. Copews. Okay.
This
So,
guy.
yeah. Okay. I don't know. This might be controversial. So if there's a break in the connection, oh no. But
Oh,
I
do
think
I
the
need to
future
unplug us?
the future of peer support, I want to see it encompass all aspects of life. Okay, so I want to see all people coming together to talk about recovery in their life. So the future of peer support. First off, this is not controversial at all. We're trying to put a certified peer support specialist in every county in the state. And how
Yeah.
many counties are there?
75.
75. So we need to put 75 people, certified peers, in all over the state, and that's a big deal. Another thing too is getting references, resources, networking, really streamline that. So what I mean by that is like the peer app. That's the future of peer support. Where if I need to find out what's in Sharp County, recovery services or treatment, boop, I could just tap it into my phone and find a certified peer that lives in that area that could tell me what's going on in Sharp County, you know?
Yeah.
So that's the future of peer support. Mental health and substance use, my passion is I want to be able to I don't want to view somebody by their diagnosis. I want to view them as who they are as a person. And I
Yes.
want us to really work together with that in the future. And just being able to help the person with where they're at, regardless of whatever it says on their treatment plan or their past or whatever. You know what I mean? Because that just doesn't define me. You know,
Yeah.
none of that stuff defines me. So those are some of the things I see for peer support. And there's a lot. There's a lot more. You know, we have these advisory committees, we have conferences, we get to go out of state and hang out in Oklahoma and Texas and have conferences. And Jimmy could talk more about that, but I definitely want to see us connect with our region, you know, and SAMHSA. And I get to meet some of these people that I hear so much about. So that's another aspect too.
Right. The state drug director just asked if we were on lunch. Yes, we are. You called me last
Hey,
night, Kirk Lane, and asked if we could incorporate this into our daily duties. So,
this is a
voila.
peanut butter and jelly sandwich. I am
Yeah.
eating lunch right now.
Yes. Yes. Totally good. I got a biscuit over here.
How long has that
Hey,
been sitting there?
hours. uh, one thing that I could definitely say about the future of peer support, uh, and of course, the coronavirus has really
No way.
affected everything. Uh, but fortunately, the peers have been able to adapt and overcome with immense, just ferociousness. To be honest, like yeah, like we shifted straight to digital everything. Like supervision is digital. We're doing webinars. We're fixing to. I mean, we're hitting it hard. Like we can't afford to slack off of recovery because addiction does not stop. The dope house is not closed.
Right, right.
Uh, Addiction is not stopped, and so recovery can't stop. Because one thing, as bad as this coronavirus is, if you sprinkle a little bit of dope into my life, it just got worse. I will be selling the cure to the coronavirus by midnight if I got high right now. I would I would be out there promising you I can fix whatever the problem is. You know the insanity of it, and so
Right.
uh, but one of the things that we're working on in Arkansas is we're trying to pair a peer recovery specialist with an overdose investigator, a police and a peer. And so when they're when the investigator is doing his thing on the overdose, then the peer, if that person survived, the peer can be connecting them to treatment. They can go to court for them when they're not working an overdose or working with the family of a survivor or whatever. Then they can be doing public education at the schools, the community, whatever. And then too, the peer will also be working in the jails. And so that's one of the things we're really working on right now.
So
Go for it, Bonnie. You had something?
there's a question here I was going to read really quick. There is
Where's it
a
at?
part. JD Skeleton talked about a part, and a lot of people, even Teresa Apple, after that talked about the peer app. And that's the A Part Coalition. Arkansas Peers Achieving Recovery Together. That's here in Pulaski County. I'm not exactly sure where we're at with the app. So if anybody has any information on that, we can. I know that it's in the works. You know what I mean? And with this virus stuff, I know people have really been put on hold with a lot of things, plans and stuff. So they were talking about launching it in 2020. So hopefully that's still a goal.
Totally. And so Josh Young said peer support recovery provides the positive energy that is much needed for those of us recovering that overpowers the negativity that hurts our chances of recovery. Thank you guys so much. Kennedy Verbic just popped on. Kennedy, what's up? Shout out to you. And so we've got one more question on here, Bonnie, and it is this: peer work during social distancing. And we've talked about it a little bit,
Mm-hmm.
but do you want to add anything to it? Because the governor comes on in 10 minutes. I'd like to
Yeah, for
watch.
sure. And I am just going to say to always encourage people to get online and to talk to each other. Whether it's text message, whether it's video stuff, I will say that hey, Kennedy, I will say that I was on conference calls all morning. Sometimes I didn't have anything to say. I was just there. Sometimes, I'm trying to plan some connections for peers to get into treatment. So I'm going to be calling places. People still have their phone on. So it's still important to, contact and reach out. Just because we're at home doesn't mean that we can't, still use the phone and use it for work purposes and not just for social media purposes. So, and now look at us here where we're able to merge the two.
Yeah, totally cool.
So we could do social media where we actually are still talking about recovery. And what Jen said earlier, I'm so tired of hearing all the negativity. And here is this live feed where we're talking about recovery instead of just being swamped with all this stuff. So merging the two is a big deal, I think. Let's see.
Absolutely.
Yeah, and still continue your recovery, self-care, 100%, 1,100%. What can I do as a peer specialist during social distancing? I called my my mentor, my sponsor last night. We did step work, and I needed it. I really needed it. Reached out to some sponsees, just did all that stuff, my self-care stuff. I'm not saying, that's just what I'm saying. Do some self-care.
Yeah. And so there's a lot of online meetings. There's online everything right now. If you're the 12 stepper, you can get 12-step recovery meetings, smart recovery. We're working on launching some peer recovery groups that, are recovery based, a lot like what we're doing now. And that's just going to be where, you can come into Zoom and you can just share about your day, and we're there to support. It's a lot of crosstalk, a lot of what can we do to help, whatever Bonnie thinks that we need to do in the peer group. So yeah, that's coming. And so
Okay.
yeah, big shout out. And on the Jimmy McGill live page, some of the things you guys have to look forward to today or in the coming week is, I think James Sweezy and I are going to go live again real soon, talking about using dreams, blaming rationalization, and addiction being a disease. Uh, I know Chris Dickey and I have the recovery clinic coming up Wednesday at 11, natural state recovery and next step, and we'll be talking about resentments. And
Ooh.
yeah, I'm mad at everybody right now too. It's going to be great. So listen, Bonnie, thank you so much for coming on. Thank you to everybody who viewed. We appreciate you, and please stay tuned. We're going to keep doing this. We're going to keep pumping content out. Bonnie, anytime you want to come back, I would love to have you.
Love you, Jimmy. Love you guys.
All right.